started, and that means you have to figure out what you're gonna have for breakfast in the morning. And for Grace and Jonathan, they probably have a favorite breakfast food too. What do you guys like to eat for breakfast?
Cereal. Cereal, eggs, and orange.
And oranges? Do you like orange juice? Ooh, exciting. So, do you like bacon?
Yes.
Yes, it's delicious. Would you guys like to try some hot breakfast food this morning at my house?
Yeah.
All right, well, let's head into the kitchen. Wait, we're already there. Let's whip up some great food and see if Jonathan and Grace approve. So let's get this breakfast palooza started with some easy breakfast sandwiches. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab 2 pieces of bread. I'm using honey wheat bread because that's my favorite. If you're more of a plain white bread person, you can totally do that as well. And I'm gonna load this into my toaster. And while that is toasting, I'm gonna get the rest of the insides of my sandwich ready. So you can put into this anything that you deem a good fit for a breakfast sandwich. For me, I'm gonna go with eggs, tomato, and spinach for something a little different. It's kind of like a vegetarian breakfast BLT, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it. But I'm just gonna take and slice 2 of my tomatoes, and I'm gonna lay those on my plate and get them ready. And I already have my spinach cleaned. I've got my butter ready to toast my bread as soon as it pops out. So here's the easy part. I just need to cook an egg. So what I'm gonna do is pop that into my pan. I'm gonna put it at a medium low and I'm gonna start frying. You've got options with this. You can make a sunny side up egg. You can flippity flop it around. You can scramble it. You can make this egg however you want. So we'll cook our egg, we'll pop up our toast, and then we'll start assembling. Easy, quick, and fast. I'm a person that I'm not really a fan of cereal at all. The only thing I'll actually have is Lucky Charms with chocolate milk, which is a little odd to some people, but that's the only way I'll do cereal. So these are quick and easy breakfasts that I can make and get out the door quick in the morning. Okie doke, so my toast has popped. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start building my sandwich and getting it ready. So I'm gonna take some butter and spread this all nice and even over my first piece of toast. And I'm gonna take my second piece of toast. I'm gonna butter that as well. And now I'm going to bring over my spinach. I'm gonna get a nice little bed here and cover it up all fine and dandy, just like so. And I'm going to take my tomatoes and layer those on there just like that. And I've got just a few seconds left on my egg, and then we'll plop it on the top. So now my egg is all fried up, so I'm gonna slide my spatula under there. And I like my yolk a little runny, that way when I pop on that second piece of bread, it pops and makes like some extra ooey gooey breakfastness. So now all I have to do is simply pop on my piece of toast, and my first breakfast sandwich is great and ready to eat. So we've got an easy peasy breakfast sandwich done, and now we're going to beef it up a little bit with a waffle breakfast sandwich. The nice thing about this recipe is there's a lot of pieces that you can do the night before, so it's just a couple minutes in the morning. And one of those things that you can do the night before is make your bacon. So I have right here 6 pieces of bacon, and what I've done is I've cut them in half, and I'm just gonna pop them apart. I'm gonna fry these up in my pan. Sometimes it's just easier to use your fingers, so that's what we're gonna go. That's why we wear an apron, ladies and gentlemen, so we can wipe our dirty fingers on the apron. So I've got my first batch of bacon going, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pop my first set of freezer waffles into my toaster. And that's what's nice about this is a super simple recipe where it's a lot of stuff that you could easily just tuck away and pop out when you're ready for these sandwiches. So I have my bacon cooking, I have my waffles toasting, and another thing that I'm going to use to glue my sandwich together is cheese. And what I'm going to use is Havarti cheese. This is another one of those sandwiches, just like with our last breakfast sandwich, you can put inside of it whatever you want. And I think that combination of bacon and Havarti is good. I like it when it's shredded, but if you want to keep it simple and quick in the morning, you can buy any kind of sliced cheese to help glue your sandwich together. I guess as you can see here, this cheese really makes the grade greater. So we have all of our pieces prepped, cheese shredded, bacon cooked. We've got some peach jam that we're gonna use as glue as well in a cup. And I have my waffles. Now, the nice thing about this is if you're a person that has children that would be having sleepovers, this would be kind of one of those cool things, like if they have a birthday party, you could set up a waffle breakfast sandwich buffet and they could plop on whatever they want and you could get it all ready before they go to bed the night before, or even before they even show up for the party. It's one of those easy things that you can just put in the refrigerator, and since we're going to fuse our sandwich together in just a moment, it doesn't matter if it goes together cold. So you can see I just took some of that peach jam and I put it on 2 of my waffles. Now I'm going to take just a little mittful of that cheese and I'm going to sprinkle it on. It ends up being about a tablespoon. And then I'm going to take a couple slices of bacon and I'm gonna lay that across. I cut my bacon strips in half, like I said, because then it fits in there a lot nicer. I'm gonna go with 4 on this one. Apparently I'm way into the eating of the meat today. And then I'm gonna take another little sprinkling of my cheese. I'm gonna cap it off just like that. You have some options for how you're going to cook these. I have one of these countertop grills. If you have a panini maker, you could put one on there. If you don't have either of those, you could easily make this on the stove just like you would with a grilled cheese sandwich. But I like this because what it ends up doing is it cooks both sides and I can actually cook a couple of them at a time. So like I said before, if you had a group of kids over for a slumber party, you could, as kids are making, plop these on there, and it's an easy way to get them making their breakfast, especially if you're tired because they were up all night screaming, giggling, laughing, or video gaming. So I'm just gonna make up my second one so I make the most of my grill space. So we've got 2 made. Let's flop on the top. We'll put it in our grill just like this, and I'm going to push down the top and grill her up. So our final waffle sandwich is all good and ready to go. So let's move on to a new kind of breakfast sandwich. So we've had 2 quick and easy sandwiches that you can make a sandwich for each person. But sometimes you want to make a whole bunch of sandwiches all at once so you can get everything done all at one time. And that's what these ham and Swiss breakfast sliders are gonna do. So what I have over here is I have 8 eggs in my pan already, and I'm gonna poke the yolk. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start cooking these on medium. And I'm gonna whisk these together to scramble them up. And I already have my eggs seasoned with some salt and pepper in here. And now, while that's happening, what I'm gonna do is I have a full package of Hawaiian sweet rolls. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my bread knife and I'm gonna be extra careful because I don't wanna cut myself. And I'm gonna turn these into mini slider buns. So I have a large bread knife and I have my hand up and safe up at the tip top. And I'm just slowly slicing these. And I like to go slowly with this because I don't want any sad boo-boos. Because a knife cut in your hand is going to hurt, startle, and possibly scar. So I have those all nice and sliced right now, and I'm gonna get them ready to put them into my pan to cook. So what I have is I have a 9 by 13 cake pan right here, and what I've done is I've sprayed it with some cooking spray, and I'm going to transfer my rolls right in there. When I'm scrambling my eggs, I wanna leave them a little bit more liquid than normally I would enjoy eating them because I am going to bake these sliders in the oven, and if I have my eggs totally cooked, then what's going to happen is my eggs are going to get really dried out in my oven. So like I said, I've got my scrambled eggs here and they're a wet scramble. And what I mean by that is not floppy and woppy, but what I mean by that is they aren't totally cooked as far as I would normally take them. So now I'm just gonna take this with my pan and plop these in here. After you get them shifted about the way you like, and that looks pretty good. It looks like, oops, everybody's going to get a nice piece of egg. I like to make sure nothing flip-flops anywhere. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make my next layer, and I'm gonna do that with my ham. So what I have is I just have thinly sliced ham like you could get from the deli, or you can use your favorite sandwich meat, whatever the choice might be. And what I like to do is kind of fold them into separate little pieces, so when it comes to breaking these sliders apart, then I've got a piece of meat on everybody's slider. So I'm just gonna take some time and I'm gonna fold these up and plop them on everybody's slider. So now we've got a nice, almost like, I don't know, shingled loaf of bread. That doesn't sound very appetizing. A nice meat-coated layer of bread. And what I'm gonna do is I'm going to grab some of my Swiss cheese, and this is gonna melt down, so it doesn't matter. You don't have to pre-cut this into separate little pieces. And really, if you buy this pre-sliced at the deli that I got mine, I'm only gonna need 4 slices of Swiss cheese. So now we are going to put our last piece together. And what I'm gonna do is I have 2 tablespoons of butter here. I'm going to melt that, and I'm gonna mix that in with 3 tablespoons of maple syrup. So let's melt that so we can mix it. And I'm gonna get my mini whisk ready, and while that butter is melting, I'm gonna take the tops of my rolls and I'm gonna set that right on the top right there. So we're gonna grab that melted butter, add it to our maple syrup, get our whisk going to combine them. And now that I have it nice and thoroughly combined, I'm just going to slowly pour it over the top of all of my sliders. Just like this. And I like to go slowly with it, so I make sure everything gets a nice coating. And now I already have my oven preheated to 350 degrees. I'm gonna pop it in for 15 minutes, and then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, double that, 12 breakfast sliders. Okie doke, we have all those different kinds of sandwiches, but maybe you're not a breakfast sandwich type of person. Maybe you're a muffin type of person. So let's talk about a funky little twist on muffins. We're gonna make some mini donut muffins. With the end of summer winding down, it's all the different fair seasons, so let's keep summer going into September with some mini donut muffins. And in order to do that, I'm gonna put 1 cup of sugar and 1/3 of a cup of vegetable oil together. And I'm just gonna take a hand mixer. You could do this with a spoon or stand mixer too. And I'm gonna cream this all together. And as much as I don't wanna say this because it's way too early, you kinda want it to look like snow. And then you know you've got it in the right consistency. And to that, I'm going to add 1 egg. I'm also going to add 1/2 cup of milk. I have 1.5 cups of flour. In order to get my muffins to rise, I have 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. I have 1/2 teaspoon of salt. And to start getting that whole donut vibe going, I have 1/2 teaspoon of nutmeg. Alrighty, so let's stir and mix and mash this all together. Now that we have everything stirred and combined, we're gonna scrape down our edges one more time, and we are going to start filling our muffin tin. Now, when we fill our muffin tin, you might be a person that always puts cupcake papers or muffin papers in your tins. Remember, these are mini donut muffins, so we don't want to have these lined with anything because we're gonna roll them into a sugar cinnamon mixture at the end. So what I did is I have liberally greased my muffin tin so that they will eventually pop out and be good to go. And I'm gonna grab, let's say this little ice cream / cookie scoop, and I'm going to start making my muffins. If you wanted to, you could make these in a full-size muffin tin like I'm doing right here. And I want about 2 scoops in there, or you could make these grab and go muffins, and you could just fill up a mini muffin pan, and you could still do the same thing. Once I get all of these muffin tins filled up, I'm gonna put this into my 350-degree oven, and I'm gonna cook them for about 20 to 25 minutes. I'll know that they are good to go to take out of my oven when I do the toothpick check and the toothpick comes out nice and clean. So we'll fill them up and we'll pop them in for that 20 to 25 minutes. So we pulled our muffins out of the oven. We have a dozen muffins cooling here. They've been sitting here for about 10 minutes, and what I just did is I melted half a cup of butter, and now I'm gonna make our cinnamon and sugar mixture. So I have a half a cup of sugar and 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, and I'm just gonna take a fork and combine that together. If you don't do a good job mixing, it might be like, whoa, cinnamon, or whoa, sugar. So you wanna mix it well. And so all I need to do in order to make my muffins is pick up my muffin, and I'm gonna turn it upside down, get a gentle butter glaze on there, roll it in my cinnamon and sugar, and there we have it. It's a mini donut muffin. Easy peasy. So now I'm just gonna go through, I'm going to dip, dab, and drop, and then I'll have muffins that are ready for my breakfast. Breakfast bark. Now this might be a foreign concept to some of you, so let's talk about what this really means. You maybe have had some sort of like chocolate peppermint bark around Christmas where it's this big heavy dessert item. Well, we're gonna take that concept, but we're gonna turn it into breakfast. And we're gonna do that first with a cup and a half of Greek yogurt. This is plain yogurt. We don't want any flavoring to it. You probably could, but I like to keep it simple and I like the flavors to shine from the ingredients we add. So to that, we're going to add 3 tablespoons of maple syrup to get that breakfast vibe going, and we are going to mix and mix and mix until it is one consistency. We don't want any ribbons of maple syrup in here. We want it to be combined. So now that's probably the hardest part of this recipe. I have a baking sheet and I've lined it with a piece of parchment paper. The parchment paper is super important because this is going to go into the freezer, and we want to be able to take our yogurt off of our paper when we remove it from the freezer. If we don't have that parchment paper there, even if it's aluminum foil or wax paper, it's pretty gosh darn tricky to take it out. So now that I have my yogurt on there, what I want to do is I want to take my spatula or my rubber scraper, either works here, and I want to spread this out into a nice ribbon. And I want this to be one big complete piece. All right, so I've got this spread out. I want to just get it as nice and smooth as I can. And now we're going to flavor our bark just like we would with that dessert bark. We're going to sprinkle things on the top of it. So I have a half a cup of granola here, and I'm going to sprinkle this all over the top. And now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in with some blueberries, and I'm gonna sprinkle the blueberries onto the top as well. And I wanna kinda aim for those more empty locations so that those blueberries can stick into my yogurt. Now the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add my strawberries, and I'm going to slice these up nice and fine. So I have my strawberry slicer, and I'm actually gonna put them through 2 times. And then you can see they're really nice and small pieces, and now I'm just gonna sprinkle those over the top as well. And I'm gonna do this with about 4 or 5 strawberries, depending on the size that are available at the grocery store when I make my breakfast bark. So this is obviously a make the night before food, unless you're a person that gets up at 3 in the morning to get your kids ready. So we're gonna make this the night before, and we're going to freeze it. We have a couple of options when it comes to eating this. Because it is coming right out of the freezer, what I can do is I can snap it into small pieces and eat it kind of almost like a frozen granola bar-esque piece. But keep in mind, the longer this stays out of the refrigerator, it's going to start thawing and it will turn back into that yogurt. So what you can do as well is you can get a healthy granola mixed up for your kids. You can freeze it, you can snap it into pieces, and then if you're running behind one morning, you can grab a couple of those pieces, put it maybe just in a mug with a handle to keep it safe in the car, grab a spoon, and as it's melting and thawing, as you're rushing to get ready, you can grab that mug and your kid can have breakfast on the ride to school. So we're gonna pop this into the freezer for 2 hours, and then it will be good to eat, and it's bound to be delicious. So we really have a big variety of breakfast options here. We've got our easy breakfast sandwich, sliding over to our waffle breakfast sandwiches. We can feed a crowd with these ham and Swiss scrambled sliders, mini donut muffins, and our yogurt breakfast bark. So let's see what some of our very own Hastings kids think of all these delicious options. So we made our yummy waffle sandwiches, and they're cooked and they smell really good. Do you think they smell good?
Yeah.
All right, I think we should try them and see if we like them. Let's go ahead. Mine's really good. Do you like them? All right, do we give it a thumbs up, a thumbs down, or 2 thumbs up? 2 thumbs up? All right, so let's see what we think of everything else. So our first sandwich was really yummy, all 3 of us decided. So let's try our next sandwich and see what we think. It has eggs and ham and bread and cheese. Go ahead and let's see what you think. I think it looks pretty yummy, don't you guys?
Yep.
Yep. The eggs get cold kind of fast, don't they?
Yeah.
But I think Grace likes her sandwich. Grace is like chowing down on hers. I was gonna say, I think this right here means that you really like this sandwich. And I think it's so good she can't even say how good it is because her mouth is full of all of that delicious stuff. So I think after this delicious sandwich, we should try a mini donut muffin. You like that plan?
Yeah.
Yes, let's try it and see. So far we've had 2 yummy sandwiches. I think it's time for a muffin break. Do you guys want to try a mini donut muffin?
Yeah.
All right, let's try it and see what we think. Does it taste? Oh, you have sugar all over your face. So do you, Jonathan. It must be good if you took a big bite and got sugar all over your face. You guys like muffins and donuts?
Oh.
Yeah, Jonathan's going in for seconds and Grace is going in for second. So these must be delicious muffins. So we have all kinds of easy breakfasts that we can make before school in the morning. All of them super fast, super simple, and it looks like everything is pretty gosh darn delicious. So remember, the apron's optional, but the flavor isn't.
Is this scrambled egg?
It is a scrambled egg.
Yay. Yeah.
I know.